I want to today look at just the first two readings. The first reading talks of the Passover and the faith of the Jews to leave Egypt and go through the desert and follow Moses. And the second reading, Paul, or the letter to the Hebrews, talks about Abraham, the faith he had in accepting what God said about being the father of a great nation, of accepting that somehow he would do that even though they were of an advanced age, and finally his wife became pregnant. His faith in taking his son up that mountain thinking he was going to sacrifice him. In all our lives, I think ourselves, our faith has pretty much been passed on to us by our parents. I think for the early part of our lives, we kind of took it for granted, but at some point in our life, there was a moment, a spark of our faith, where Christ spoke to us in our hearts in a way that faith was enlivened and we accepted his love. We took that step, what they say, into a dark place. Because faith is believing, faith is what we call trusting, but it's trusting in something we don't see and actually don't know. It's giving in of our own self to another being, in this case, to God. Accepting what Jesus said about love, what future life is, and what it brings. All through the centuries, there have been many examples of people of faith since Christ's time. We hold them out as examples of people to be emulated in what their love and their works were. I like to think and look at somebody of our own time that I think most of us have seen, at least on the news. She was a woman in Calcutta, Mother Teresa. She was a woman of faith. She started a religious order. She felt she had a special call. At one point in her life, the Lord, she felt, spoke to her to serve the poorest of the poor, those dying in the streets of Calcutta who nobody cared about. And she started an order, and it spread throughout the world. There are even part of her order in Washington, D.C. I've seen her sisters in the Aldis over in Merlin. But the thing with her, as outstanding and even in her own time recognized for what she did, the love she had, the work she did, the organization of her nuns, is that we find out after she passed on that throughout her life she felt a darkness. In her faith, in her trust, she didn't feel the connection that she did at the time she was called to do her work. But her love continued, her trust continued. She never gave up. And she remained steadfast in her faith and her trust. It's kind of interesting, and if you are interested, it's a Hollywood movie, but there is a movie that most of you can access on your cable or Netflix called The Letters. And it's the letters that she wrote to her spiritual director throughout her life, and of the darkness she felt and of the aid that she got from her directors throughout her life. And I find it inspiring in the sense that how many times do we ourselves feel lost and feel a darkness and say, what is everything about? And it's an assurance and a trust that she had and we should ourselves have in our own life, that regardless of what we envision and what we want, that when we place ourselves in the hands of God, God will work it out for us if we have the trust. And his love will prevail, and we will, in the end, be in union with him, as Mother Teresa in her life continued on and did a great work.